What's a common myth about health, nutrition, or fitness that you've learned is actually false? Potatoes are actually nutrient-dense, not just starch. Edit. The myth is that taters are just starch. Assuming you had good nutrition at the starting point, you could survive off of just potatoes for several months before developing any deficiencies. Most of the stuff, vitamins and minerals, that we need on a frequent basis are in potatoes. That you can target fat by doing specific workouts. You can't. You can build muscle by doing specific workouts, but your body will burn fat from where it wants, not in that one area. Luckily, it's made weeding out the workout frauds much easier. I'm a guy with gynecomastia, or male breasts. Have had M since I was a kid. Have been ridiculed relentlessly. Anyway, I spent all of my later teens and all of my 20s trying to get rid of them the natural way. I spent 6 hours in the gym a day. I was shredded and still had male breasts. Lifting didn't work, so I went to cardio. I ran a damn marathon and still had them. Like I spent 4 hours a day running and training and eating perfectly and still had them. You cannot target fat. I would have found a way. Still have M. Saving up for the surgery. In my mid-30s now, and still cannot stand my body. Edit. So I'm aware it's not actually fat tissue that is part of the myth, believing that stuff that just isn't true. As a young kid, I was bullied a lot, and only got called fat, so that's what I knew them as. I now am fully aware that it will do me no good. Also, thanks for your kind words, it means a lot. Slightly off topic, but people haven't learned the recent news that we now believe we know what the appendix does. It's a backup storage for gut bacteria, so it can help replenish itself, like after antibiotics. There have also been studies that removal of the appendix when you're younger can lower the risk or delay onset of Parkinson. The protein that contributes to its development likes to live in the appendix, so after it's gone it won't bioaccumulate. This is really early studies, nothing concrete yet, but when I had mine out in my mid-20s, my surgeon and me geeked out over the studies in my post-op appointment. I thought black people, didn't need sunscreen because melanin protects us against the sun. Evidently that's not entirely true. I once told a coworker from the UK, who was planning a trip to New Zealand, that she had to bring a good sunscreen. She didn't listen, said she'd never gotten sunburned before. She's black and from England, so she thought she'd be fine. I tried to explain that skin tone wouldn't save her. New Zealand sun doesn't spare anyone. When she came back, she sheepishly admitted she'd spent a day at the beach and ended up burned so badly she got blisters. I just looked at her like, "See? I tried to warn you, girl." And of course, she had to buy local sunscreen that costs 3 times as much. Lifting weights to get bigger and stronger doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the most effective workout plans and routines are quite boring after a while. This idea that every session needs to be different or changed up for variety or target a very specific area of muscle growth is ultimately more trouble than it's worth. There's a reason 5x5 as a routine has been around forever. It's simple, boring but effective. The hardest part is making it a consistent activity. Edit to add, well, this blew up. Okay, boring may not have been the best word for all you people hung up on semantics. Repetitive is the better word. And doing the same workout and working toward progressive overload can feel repetitive, and at times, when you don't feel like working out, it can get boring. Moral of the story: simplicity and consistency are your friends. The end. Have fun. Yeah, people get confused by the idea of progressive overload. They heard if you don't mix it up you won't get results, not realizing upping weight/rep count counts as progressive overload. It doesn't mean you have to always be doing different things, just challenging yourself at your current strength. that heart disease is essentially a one-way trip. You can absolutely reverse arterial plaque buildup with the right diet and a bit of exercise. All natural deaths in my family have been from heart disease or arteriosclerosis. Got tested for cholesterol levels at 24 years old. Doctor told me prior that everything about me was in great shape, nothing to worry about. LDL cholesterol was literally off the chart. Over 190 milligrams per deciliter. They couldn't give me an exact number cause that's as high as they could register. Tested it twice more with different labs to make sure and the results were the same, off the chart. Changed my diet, started doing exercise throughout the day instead of all at once to avoid straining my heart. Asthma doesn't help. Started managing my ADHD to make doing that a bit easier. Proud to say that 8 years later, it's finally down to 110 milligrams per deciliter. Still more to go, but it took 3 years to get below 190. I'm pregnant now, and I'm grateful I made the change, 'cause I want to be in this kid's life for as long as I can. Eat fat, get fat. Fat is actually important in your diet. The problem is that fat is very calorie dense and delicious. If you're not paying attention to how much fat you eat, it's super easy to overdo it. Natural means nothing. It's a logical fallacy. Arsenic is natural, mercury is natural, lots of natural things are toxic. Stop trying to convince me that something is good because it's natural. Oh, and that goes triple for chemicals that are used. Natural doesn't mean it's better. I recently read how a winery was using a natural herbicide. It's a lot more toxic than the artificial ones. They were poisoning people. That poster of the food pyramid that was in every classroom growing up. Semi-related, that you only need 21 days to develop a habit. I see so many people giving up on exercise routines because they didn't develop it within a month, so they just assumed that it wasn't right for them. This is one of those pop psychology things where someone misinterpreted and completely simplified a study that was not even related to habits, then made a whole bunch of money off of it, and now everyone thinks that you should be able to develop habits in 21 days or something is wrong with you. When you shave, your hair doesn't grow back faster, longer, or darker. It's just all growing back at the same time, so it can look more full. If it did work like that, every bald man ever would shave their heart every day. I tried to tell my dad that, and called me a liar. I said if it really did work like that, then he'd actually be able to grow a beard. Suddenly, he really wasn't interested in arguing with me anymore. That fitness influencers look like that because they work hard. The majority of them are on steroids. The difference can be harder to tell than most people realize, but a good clue is how long it took them to get there. If you've been lifting and cycling gear for 2 years, you can look like the natty guy who's been lifting 10 years. All those actors who blew up for a role? On gear. Alcohol in moderation. It's a feel-good mantra for society. The fact is that any amount of alcohol damages the liver. Being cold gives you a cold. Viruses cause colds, not chilly weather. In fact, some studies suggest that exposure to cold may even boost immune function. I'm in agreement, but anecdotally, it seems like if I spend too much time in cold weather without a jacket, or I get rained on, and don't get warm and dry, then I have a runny nose and feel bad. What is that? Your respiratory system is inflamed but not infected. But this can weaken the mucous membranes enough to become more susceptible to infection by a virus. My best friend in high school had the same exact locker combination as me in a school of 1,200 people. Saw a combo written on a piece of paper of his, and I asked why he wrote down my combo. He looked confused and said that's his combo. The combination locks are changed and reassigned each year. Edit, miss you buddy. That exercising lots is the best way to lose weight. In reality, diet ends up being more important, and high-impact exercise can often make weightless harder, as it makes you hungrier. In reality, diet ends up being more important, and high-impact exercise can often make weightless harder, as it makes you hungrier. As an active person who would be happier with 10 less pounds, it is such a struggle to not eat everything after a long hike or bike ride. Convincing my body I'm a weekend warrior and not training daily for an Ironman is a struggle. Ask your doctor how to properly take vitamins and supplements. Some do nothing, others need to be taken with foods to get absorbed. My wife is a registered dietitian. I would ask one of them before a doctor. Most doctors haven't touched a food/nutrition course since their undergrad. Walking is pretty close to jogging in terms of calories burnt. Edit. I phrase this terribly. The myth is that jogging burns more calories than walking, when in reality, they burn very similar amounts when measuring by distance covered. Eggs raise cholesterol. They are actually packed with nutrients and healthy fats that are good for overall health. Eating carrots improves eyesight. Carrots contain beta-carotene, which the body converts into vitamin A. That vitamin is essential for producing rhodopsin, a pigment that helps your eyes see in the dark. Eating tons of carrots won't give you supervision, but a lack of vitamin A can damage your eyesight. Beta-carotene has also been studied for preventing age-related eye problems, and the results were promising. So yeah, there's actually a bit of truth to that old myth. Artificial chemicals aren't inherently bad for you. If you can't pronounce it, it's a skill issue. Everything is a chemical or is made of chemicals. I hate when people take some strange name from an ingredient list and like, oh, it's bad, look at the consonants. This goes out to all my fellow Balkan people. 1. Going out with your hair wet equals you'll get sick. 2. Walking barefoot around the house during the winter equals you'll get sick. 3. A breeze in the winter, if you open a lot of windows, equals stiff neck and you get sick. 4. Cold drinks equals sore throat. 5. If stem 4 happens, a shot of Rakijo will fix you right up. 6. When you are sick, you need to be covered with all the blankets in your house to sweat the illness out. That you need to do a cleanse to get rid of toxins. Our liver and kidney clear out what's not necessary. Cleanses are a scam. This is less of a specific myth and more of a huge pervasive misunderstanding. The amount of effort required to build muscle is generally higher than people think, and the amount you can build without the use of performance-enhancing drugs is much lower than people think. So many people don't lift because they don't want to be all muscular, as if they'll just magically blow up just from touching a barbell. And likewise, a ton of people still fully believe that with simply enough discipline and dedication, anyone can look like these big, shredded dudes all over social media or Hollywood actors playing superhero characters. I consider myself a very well-informed person and had no fucking idea until I was nearly 30 just how many guys and women, even in normal gyms all around the country, are using steroids. Autism isn't more prevalent these days due to vaccines. It's because we learned more about it and are actually diagnosing people rather than burning them or throwing them into an asylum. Myth: dieting is temporary. Truth: losing weight is a whole lifestyle change. If you temporarily change your diet to lose XLBS and then change back to your normal diet, you're also going back to your normal weight. To lose weight and keep it off, you need to change your relationship with food. Maybe you do need to change what you eat. Maybe you only need to eat less of it. Maybe you need to modify when you eat. Maybe you need to change macros. If you don't change your lifestyle, you'll go back to it. That you should get at least 10K steps a day. The myth comes from the number 10,000. When the first pedometers got popular, they maxed out at 10K steps. So eventually that number just morphed into the ideal number you should supposedly get every day. That being said, 10K steps is a good reasonable goal that your average person can achieve. Almost any piece of advice, when taken out of context, is at least half false. For example, there are ethnic groups that thrive on such low salt intake that most people would actually get sick from it. And then, there are people who can eat way more salt without any harm. Some are salt sensitive. They need less than average, but still more than those low salt groups. The idea that one-size-fits-all recommendations actually work? It's really just a rough guideline. And even that ignores tons of nuances and interactions. When it comes to salt and electrolytes, the same diet can cause a deficiency in one person and be perfect for their genetic twin, just because of differences in other nutrients. Carbs, proteins, fats, cholesterol, vitamins, minerals, everything is so individual that most, universal, advice ends up being useless for specific people or even whole populations. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, tell us which health fact about diet or fitness you think is actually a myth. And don't forget to check out our other videos.